There we go. Okay, it's being recorded. Also, I need to share this link. I sent an email, so just in case. Chat window. So I pasted in this link to the chat window. So you can open it or bookmark it for later use. So yeah, we finished session 1, 5 lessons. The lesson 1, basically introduction and how to run Python online. For Macs, I think ResNodes for Macs. There's a link. If you have any Python code, you can copy paste to the left panel, the window, and then just click run, and the output of the Python program will be just shown in the black window. Install Python. Yeah, if you have not installed Python onto your computer yet, you can follow the steps. If you use a PC, follow the step, install Python Windows. If you have an Apple computer, you can follow the step, install Python on Mac OS. Okay. If you don't want to bother to do this, you just do the run the Python online, just like this one. So that's pretty much for the lesson 1. Of course, the lesson 1 is talking about what is a Python, how to run Python, blah blah. So not much. In lesson 2, we learned the Python variables. Okay, you assign value to any name, then that name becomes a variable. The naming convention for a Python variable normally is just like letters, lowercase letters. No dash, special symbols. I guess no digits. So just the lowercase letters. Maybe underscore is okay. I haven't tried that. Let me see if underscore is okay. X, Y, add an underscore to it, assign a value to it, and just write. If it doesn't complain, then that's okay. Yeah, so yeah, underscore is okay, but I think the other day I tried dash. It's not accepted. Yeah, it complained about the cannot assign to operator. So I think the dash is minus the math operator, so it doesn't like dash. So underscore is okay. So the variables and the data types, we have different kind of data types: string, int, float, boolean, and list, and so on. Bunch of them. We didn't learn all of them, but we started with the commonly used data types like int, float, int, float, and string. A string in double quotes, that's called a string. Okay. All right. That's lesson 2. Lesson 3, we started to learn Python operators. The most useful operators are the math operators: plus, minus, time, divide, division, and exponentiation, the power of. And then the comparison, the double equal, that's to compare if the two are equal and not equal, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, or less than or equal. So that's to the comparison. The comparison is useful for the conditions in the if else or the loops statements. Yeah, and the logical operators basically to combine the comparison operators multiple together, so and or not. Okay. And lesson 4, we learned if else. So if this is a comparison, if the comparison is true, then it do the following block. And the block of code underneath if should have at least one space in front. Okay, that's the requirement. 1 or 2, typical is 2. So typical 2 is recommended. You can have 3, you can have 1, you can have 5, but 2 is the best probably. That's the indentation. Without the space, then you get an error. And then as part of the if else, then there's elif. That means if something else, if something else, if something, you know, elif, and the catch-all is else. So if nothing else, then it's just else, and then do the else thing. With and or, right. Then you basically in the if else, you can have multiple comparisons combined with the logical operator and or. And lesson 5, the last lesson of session 1. Yeah, I mentioned the install Python again, so that should be in this lesson 1. But we did a small project, just calculate the car loans. If you borrow some money with certain interest for a term of number of months, then you can calculate the monthly payment using this formula. And the code is not that, you know, complicated. So basically you define the variables to hold the input values, 3 input values. And then you just use that, plug in those variables into that formula, then you get a monthly payment. And at the end, you just print out. So that's very straightforward. And in lesson 5, we also learned the loops, the 5 loop, the 2 loops. One is the while loops. To use the while loop, you need to introduce a variable. You can call it the index variable or the counter or the pointer. So yeah, you can call whatever you want to call it. Basically use that variable to track the iterations of the while loop. You do need to increase that variable so the while loop can complete or finish. Otherwise, it's going to be infinity loop or loop forever. Of course, you can use a break to the break statement to break out of the loop whenever you want to break out. And the for loop. For the for loop, you don't need that index variable. You just you know, provide a range of values you want the loop to loop through, and use a variable x, or you can, yeah, pick any name. Doesn't have to be x. So you just pick a variable, and to represent each individual items in the range, and then just do the block print or calculation, or you can do anything. But the for loop will finish after looping through all the individual values. And also you can use the break statement to break out of the for loop. So far so good. No questions, right? So Max, this is what you learned in the Python class you attended before. Some of it.
Yeah, some of it.
Okay, good. Yep. So you're not totally lost, right? Yeah. If you find this, hard, or you need something you didn't learn, you can review the lesson 1 through 5 after the class to catch up. Okay. And yeah, as a part of the lesson 5, I give you a couple of questions to think about. Well, the first one actually asks you to install Python 3 on your computer. Yeah, just follow the installation steps. Yeah, that should be easy to do. The second one, use a for loop. Use a for loop in the 9-9 timetable. What does that mean? The 9x9 timetable. That's the a exercise we did when we learned the while loop. So that's the right here. That's a code. If we paste in this online Python running tool and run it. It basically is list the top line that's from 0 to 9, and the vertical also from 0 to 9. Then the rest are the products or the results of the columns times the rows. So for example, column 2 times row 2, or actually third row, so they are third, but we call it the column 2. That's 4. So column 2 times row 3, that's 6. So that's called the 9x9 timetable. And this is to use the while loop. So basically this part, you can see that I print just the top row, right? The top row. So first you print X. I said and equal to empty means don't print new line. Without that parameter, this and
Can you
equal
send
to
us the link for that website again?
website, which website? The online website?
The Python for beginners, the starting page, the kind of like the menu.
That's the w3schools.com. How about here? So that's a link. Let me paste that.
Like the one that says Python for beginners, the one that shows you like the homework and stuff.
Oh, show the homeworks?
No. Your
this.
first, no, like the one before that one.
That's here. You can click anything, but I think get started. There's no.
Send it to Zoom. I'm not even on that. Like send the link to. Alrighty, thank you for the person that sent something.
Okay, you need this link you mean? Yeah, Max sent it.
It showed it in the email.
Yeah, Yeah, it's in the email, and you should bookmark it into your browser. For me, I just did a bookmark, put it here, and then that's my.
Remember, I'm on mobile. I can't even bookmark a website. Remember.
Okay. Okay. Now you got it, right? Okay. So this line print the first row. Oh well, that just actually print just X. And it means the time. And for this while loop, we print the top row 0 to 9. And then we print a new line, basically. This is like print the next actually is the last character with a new line. And then so that the whole top block is print just the first row. Okay. And the next block here is start to print the column, no, the row. So the first one is 0. And the next loop print 1, right? So that's this part. So that print the first number for the all the rows. And for each row, for each row, well, for row 0, that's all 0. Yeah, but let's say for row 1, for each row, we run this loop. So this loop, just like the top, we print just like the first row here, print the 0. Well, not 0. We print the time of column time row. Okay. And no a new line. So they can stay on the same line until the last time. They like this one, 2 times 9, that's 18, and then after that, and then print a empty and increase the row number. So the next row. So that's how we create this table. Now the homework, second homework, instead of use the while loop, can we use the for loops? I think we can, right? Let's do that together. It's a little bit, it's fun actually. So this is a while, we know how it works. So let's do a for loop. Remember, for the for loop, we don't need we don't need to initialize the index. So we can just say for j in range not 10. So what this function range does, remember, it gave 10 items or 10 values, start with 0. So basically the range gave all the 10 values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 9. So that's a j, and then so we don't need to do that. All right. And we just print out j. And also we don't need to do the manual increase because the j just goes through the 10 numbers just like that, 0 to 9. So we don't need to do that. And the same thing, the rest is the same. Just print the j. At the end, we print a new line at the end. So that we'll do the first. Okay. For the next tool, again, for while, we change it to for. Instead of while that, we do for I in range 10. And again, we don't need to set that. That will do it. So we don't for the I, we don't need to do that. Similarly, for the inner loop, to print the time results, the I times j. And we also change that to 4 in range 10 and print the time I times j. Again, we don't need to do the incremental. So now you can see the for loop. If we use a for loop, we have quite a few less lines, right? So it should do the same thing, and we should have the same result. Let me run it. Yeah, look at that, exactly same. So this is the difference between for and I don't know, difference and the similarities between the for and the while loop. So the answer to the second question is just like that, which is what we did. Okay. Lesson 6, that's the first lesson. Since the 2 sessions, you know, part 1, part 2, so I'm going to just call lesson, we are at lesson 6, or you can call it lesson 1 of session 2. So let's call it just lesson 6. In lesson 6, we want to learn the functions. Remember, this is a function. That's a function. So functions are very useful and are essential also. So we want to, before we learn functions, we want to learn a Python list. That Python list actually is part of the Python data types. We didn't touch before while we learn the data types. But since now we need it, so we want to learn it now. So what is a Python list? A list is a single variable of multiple items or multiple values. Items are enclosed in a pair of square brackets and separated with commas. For example, a list, that's a variable, a list variable, equal to square bracket, and the individual, we call the individual items or individual strings separated by comma. Then this a list is a list variable. Again, as a variable, you can name it to whatever name you want to use. It doesn't have to be a list. Just for example, paste that, copy that into this tool. So we have variable, and we can print the variable. Just print this list for me, and just run. Yep, as just print the whole thing out. So it basically, it doesn't print just the individual values. It print the whole thing to show that it's not a string, it's not any other data type, it's a list. A list, this should have all the square bracket, comma, and for the quote, it can be single quote or double quote. So in this case, it just uses single, instead of using double, but that's okay. And okay.
Hey, excuse me. I think someone just knocked on my door, so can I go open
ahead.
the door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm. Then for the list items, there are for some properties we want to know. The list item are ordered, changeable, and duplicates are okay. So those are the items. And also items are indexed. And the first item has an index of 0. Normally we use index with the a square bracket. So square bracket and the numbers. The first item, yeah, it has an index of 0, and the second is 1, and third one is 2. Because it starts with 0, so that's why it's shifted by 1. This is very annoying, but for most of the programming language, that's the way index works. So when you have a list or array, the first one is 0, and the second one is 1, and the third one is 2. So you have to kind of minus 1. Okay. Let me just quickly check the attendance here. This cluster with this one, Inus here, Max here. I think that's yeah, Ethan Stephen is here, I think. Yep. Alan probably not. Okay, that's good. So let's look at those things. First, ordered. Yeah. If a list is created, then yeah, this is the order. Is this maintained? It cannot, the order are fixed. You cannot change it. If you add a new item, then you add to the end. You cannot, like add to the first or middle or something, but you always add something at the end. That's the ordered, what the order means. And changeable. Changeable means you can change the value of the existing items. Like you have a list of apple, orange, watermelon, and you say, oh, apple is wrong. No, I don't want to change to pear. Fine. You can change apple to pear. And or you can use, you can change watermelon to cherry, or you can add a peach to the list, just like the adding thing. So it can be changed, added, or removed. So in this case, you can say this is the watermelon is removed or replaced by cherry, or is that's either changed or removed and they added a cherry in the peach. So, but at least the first one, that's definitely a change. So it changed the apple to pear. Let's just try that actually. I'm going to copy that. Oh, I have that. So apple, orange, pear. Now, how to change it? Oh, I shouldn't copy that there. But the way to change the value is let me copy that. How about this? I just save that. Oh, by the way, the pound sign is the character to use to disable the line or coming out a line. The computer ignored the line started with pound sign. So let's say we want to change the first item. Remember the first item is the list name with index 0. And so that's pretty much like a new variable. But this is, yeah, derived variable. that point to apple. We say I want to change to apple to pear. And basically we assign pear to the first item. Now if we print this listed again, it first print out the original list, apple, orange, watermelon, and the second time print out pear, orange, watermelon. So that's how you change a list item. And also, how about delete? Yeah, let's delete. Interesting, delete. I wonder how we delete one item. Let me try it. A list. How about delete orange? And I wonder if we sign null to it, that's a way to delete it. So that's not. Try that. So that's not the right way to delete it. Let me see. It doesn't say delete. You know what? Let me ask. No. Add Python. Oh, Python. If you have not used chat GPT, the chat.openai.com, you should try it. So you can ask all these sort of questions. So for Tyson, said how to remove an item from a list. No kidding. Oh my goodness. Let me see. First option is use remove. If you know the value item you want to remove, you can use remove method of this. Let's remove the first occurrence or this value from this. Okay. So let's try the remove. You just, if you know the value of the item, it doesn't matter where it's located. It just find the first one to remove it. I bet this option like remove the second one, remove the last one, something. But the default probably is to remove the first one. So list to remove. So now we want to remove orange. Okay, then. So let me look at the oh, just that. A list dot remove function, just remove orange. See if that works. Oh yes, a search orange in the list, find it and remove it. So that's how we remove the thing. Then how to add? I bet it's going to be called a list dot add a new value, add to the end, remember. Add what we want to add, cherry, yeah, cherry. And as always, print out a list. There's no such thing called add.
Interesting.
Let's ask AI. Add an item. Append. Whatever. Instead of calling add, Python pick append. So append. Yeah, append that makes more sense. Add because confusing. Hey, where would you add? Add in the middle, the front. But with append, in English word append always means add to the end, right? So that append is better. Yeah, append makes sense. There we go. We add a cherry. I bet we can add more than one. Peach, we want to add as well. So at the
Hey,
time you can
excuse
add.
me, can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, go ahead. You can add one to. You can add many items as long they are, you know.
Mango.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's my favorite fruit. Oh, did I?
Mango,
No,
not mongo.
I know. That right now? Okay.
Yep.
What's wrong? Let me see. Oh, really? Oh, my guess is wrong. I take exactly one argument. Oh, well, that's still one. Oh, no, comma separated is not. Yeah. So in this case, if you want to add a multiple, you can do this. You can do. Remember, if you square bracket things separated by comma, then that's a list. So basically append a new list to this big list or the parent list. That should work. If not, I'm going to criticize, but it works. Oh, kind of. Add the list as a new item. It's actually not the way we want to add. We just want to add 3 more items like the first 2. But in this case, it's actually still 3 item list, pear, watermelon, and a list as a single item. And inside this child list, then we have 3 items. So this is not exactly what I want. So yeah, so if you want to add 3 items, just like the first 2, then you have to add a 1 by 1. So you cannot use the square bracket. Okay, I think enough with the list. Duplicate. Oh yeah, duplicate says you can have duplicate values that's allowed. That's important because for some in future, if you use the list as an input for a function, you want to you may want to have the same value parameter. So we'll learn that later. But basically, get rid of that. So you can have apple, orange. How about just orange? Yeah, so that's legal. If you run it, it doesn't complain. Duplicate is okay. Oh, length. What if I want to know how many items in my list? Yeah, but for short list, I say, oh, okay, only 4. You can, visually count. But like in data science, scientists use a list to store many values, millions values. You cannot ask a scientist to count by hand or by eyeballs. So then you have a function just like ask Python, tell me how many items in a list. So the function to use is called length function, LEN. That's the short version of length. So just for example, again, print the length of the list. In this case, we should get a 4. That's 4. What else? Data types. Oh yeah, for a list, you can have list of strings, like all the strings, single strings, text, basically string, or list of integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, as long as they are comma separated. And you can have a list of booleans, true, false, 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 true, or even you can have mix of them. A list can have a string, integer, boolean, another integer, and even a float. So you can have multiple, different type of data types in the same list. All right, I'm rushing now. Let's jump to the function finally. Python functions, we already use the functions, the string length, the range, and so on. But how to create a function? You can create a function, but just use the keyword def. Def stands for, I think, define, or you can say define function, but I think it's just called a define, definition, something like a define a variable function. The syntax is define space whatever function name you pick, and then parentheses, that's required, parentheses. And then you inside the function, what do you want to do? I say, okay, just print a line. So that's define function. And after you define function, you want to use a function that's called to call a function. To call a function, you just type the function name. That's it. Outside the function block, definition block. For example, you define my first function. So that's basically the program would define the thing, doesn't really do anything until you call the function. When you call the function, it finds the function and then run the function and print out thing. But so if you don't call it, you just run it, then that's just define function. It doesn't really run the function. It knows, okay, you define function, fine. I define the function, store in memory, and I'm waiting for you to call me. If you don't call me, I don't do anything. So that's why it doesn't print the thing, doesn't run the function. It just define the function, does not run the function. So that's the creation and calling arguments. Now, the list we just learned play a role here. So basically, the function, you can pass multiple variables, comma separated, almost looks like a list. So define function, you can define, this is called a parameter or argument. And then the print can just print this variable out. So in this case, define function, display my first name. You define the function, and then you call 3 times. Basically, okay, display first name function, print out first name Kevin, print out Tom, print out David. So that's how this the function with a argument or called a parameter works. Okay, you run it. So the function is on this. Here you see the why a function is useful. If without a function, you have to like type 3 print. But with this function, you just define once and then call. You can call as many as you want. So you don't have to type a print blah 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 all the time. So that's the use of function. I need 1 or 2 more minutes to finish up. Similarly, you can do the last name. And here, this one is interesting. So we know the single argument, how the single argument work. So display first name, display last name, just single variables or single parameter, How about a multiple? Yeah, this is a multiple. So in the define the function, you can define two arguments and run. So you can print out, yeah, you call the function 3 times. You can print out both first name and last name, first name and last name. Okay, that's the 2 parameters. And even better, so oh, how about also in addition to the names, I want to print the person's age. Yeah, in that way you define the function, you give it 3 parameters or arguments, and then yeah, you can do the print first name, print last name, print age separately, or you can even print them on the same line. Someone is of 10 years old. So you just use those 3 arguments in one print line. You don't have to, print them separately. But when you call the function, you have to pass 3 parameters to match. They need to match. So let me run this, and then we are done. Here, paste in, run it. Yeah, now you can see the print the first name, last name, age, and then the print all the information in one line. That's all this, what this function does. And then we just call the function 3 times for 3 students, right? Many times probably you don't need those 3, then you don't have to. Then you just like get 3 lines, right? Yeah, that's the functions. Very interesting. Yeah, that's it. And again, I gave you a couple homeworks to think about. And I see you next Friday. I'm going to stop share and stop recording.